Hi everyone, this is the Corriedale reviews, and we are reviewing Coronation Street from the 30th of July to the 3rd of August. And as I said in my Emmerdale review, I wasn't actually planning on doing this review because I hadn't watched any of the episodes, but since recording that, I have actually managed to watch all 6 episodes of Coronation Street from this week. I know, what an exciting life I lead, but it means that I can share with you my thoughts on the week on the cobbles. So first of all, let's go to Josh being injured. So we have David disappearing. Now, I don't think I mentioned this in the last review, but there was the whole storyline with David having a knife on his person that Lily found and tried to use it to cut cakes with. Etc. And Shona made David throw the knife out. So David has been acting very strangely, and we notice that he's been disappearing to random places, and Billy starts following him, and we see that he is pinned down Josh and sees Josh very pally with somebody, the same way that Josh was pally with him before Josh assaulted David. Billy tracks David down and says, "Don't do anything stupid." David reluctantly heeds the vicar Billy's advice, goes away, and what does Billy do? He just becomes a hypocrite and he just decides to get involved anyway, and he does. He says to the bloke Josh was with that Josh assaulted David and he might assault him as well, and the guy's reluctant to believe it, but Billy manages to convince him, and then we find out later that Josh is now in hospital because it did turn out that he had GHB on his person, the drug that he can use to make people unconscious. So yeah, all very interesting. So now Josh is in the hospital. David's paid him a visit. Billy's paid him a visit, but he's not too popular, is what all the nurses are saying. And it was nice because David did have a victory over Josh. I think a lot of the writers were saying that they couldn't get the case in court or something like that, to reflect real life male assaults of the same caliber that happened with David and Josh. So they were saying that it would be unlikely that a conviction would be made. So it's almost as good enough a victory as the writers can give us with Josh. The seeing him beaten half to death, unconscious, lying in hospital with no real friends because he's raped all his friends and now they don't want to be his friends anymore. So it is, I think, as good a victory as we can hope to get with Josh, which is a shame, but at least we can see some sort of justice. What do we call it? Soap justice catch up with Josh. It was also interesting to see how Summer reacted to the police arriving, because Summer knows that Billy has been getting in trouble recently with the police, so whenever the police knock on the door, she's obviously going to be a little bit thinking the worst of what's happened. So Billy had to do a lot of reassuring there to let her know that he hadn't actually done anything wrong. Who would have thought the vicar would have done anything wrong anyway? He's a vicar, after all. But yeah, no, it was nice to... it's always nice to see David and Billy, because they were two characters that were never really paired together before this whole thing happened. I do remember a few funny scenes with David and Billy before the whole assault storyline, where Billy knocks on the door as Lily answers it, and then David comes out behind and he's trying to get him to go to a bake sale. David doesn't want to go to the bake sale, and then he says to Lily, "Oh, I bet he'd like to make some cakes or something." And then Lily's like, yeah, we'd love to go to the bake centre. And then David sarcastically goes, "Thanks, Vicar," in his Yorkshire accent, despite the fact that he's lived his whole life in Manchester. So yeah, no, I think David and Billy are two very good characters paired together, and I do enjoy seeing those two interact with each other, especially just based on the way that David will always sarcastically call Billy Vicar. So yeah, I think that was everything about Josh being injured. So Eva came back. So we saw Eva leave, and then we saw Eva come back and leave again. Except this time Adam wants to stay at the street, which is a bit confusing, because did he sell his business, or is his business still going, or what's going on with that? I'm sure that Imran wasn't too pleased with him about it. So is the business still going? Has Adam got a job to come back to? Has Imran managed to keep it afloat? Is there work for Adam? Will he find himself working in the pub, in Gemma's pub? But we will move on to that shortly. I think I still want to say a little bit about Eva coming back, and then we will move on to Gemma with the pub. But yes, no, we'll go to Eva coming back. There's a whole saying in Coronation Street that if a character leaves in a streetcar's cab, they can come back, but if a character leaves in a black cab, they can't come back. So Eva left in a streetcar's cab the week before, whereas this week she left in a black cab, which possibly means that we won't be seeing Eva again, at least for another few years. But it was very nice that she finished on good terms with Johnny, that they managed to clear their differences, and Johnny was ready to just completely say goodbye to Susie, his granddaughter. But Eva quickly said, you can come visit, and you could just see Johnny just light up, knowing that he could come and see her, despite abducting her. But let bygones be bygones, I say. Plus, he wasn't in the best mental state. So, obviously, Toya found it very tough seeing Eva again. Although Toya is desperate for Eva to stay because of the whole thing that Eva was going to give Susie to Toya before realising that, hang on, you can't just give your baby to someone because you might get emotionally attached to it. You know, that whole thing. And that's the reason why Eva said she wants to leave. The main reason is because of Toya, which Toya seemed to take quite well. I do like Toya because Toya, well, apart from the whole baby thing, she can think very rationally, and she can process people's arguments not in an emotional way, but in a more literal way, that she can understand where someone's coming from. For instance, a lot of characters have probably been extremely offended if they said the reason I'm leaving is you, whereas Toya heard that, processed it, and thought, okay, I understand that, instead of turning it into a whole argument. And I do really like Toya, and Toya is very conniving at times as well. The way she, part of her plans with the whole surrogate baby thing was to change the phone number for Jackie and Peter's phone, so Peter could never contact Jackie, which I found hilarious. I thought that was so cunning. And Toya is a very good character, and I do hope to see a lot more of Toya. I think Toya is a great addition to the show, but Peter's been pretty horrible to Toya. Although you can sort of understand why, because Toya didn't tell him that his baby died and tried to pass another baby off as his. Which, yeah, I can understand somebody getting a little bit annoyed at you for doing that. But you got to let it go, Peter. You know, in Soapland, you can only be mad at somebody for a couple of months, and then you've got to forgive them. And in another few months, you've got to pretend it never happened. Just look at Maria and Tyrone. Like, you know, they pass each other in the street and they say, hey, but about, as does Fizz. But a few years ago when Maria went absolute crazy, you know, Tyrone and Fizz were absolutely furious with her. So yeah, you just, in the street, everything just resets eventually, and people just forget stuff happened. But I tell you what we won't forget is Peter and Carla used to be an item, and it looks like something might be happening with Peter and Carla again. And I'd be happy for that because I do like Peter and Carla together. Would it be nice to see them together again? Yes. Is it likely? I don't know. Peter obviously wants it to happen. Carla is a bit apprehensive. You had an affair with somebody for a couple of years, or do we just forget about that? Well, I know it wasn't a couple of years. It's probably about a year. It might not have been as long as a year, but it was a while that Peter was having the affair with Tina, and for a long time Carla was convinced that Peter had killed Tina, although it turned out to be Rob. Just another day in Weatherfield. Peter was absolutely horrible to Toyah, but Peter seems like he wants to get back with Carla, and Michelle's not too happy about it. And I have to say, one of my least favourite characters in Coronation Street is Michelle. I don't know what it is about Michelle. I just really, really don't like Michelle. She was shot by Phelan a couple of months ago. Do I wish she died? No. Do I wish that the emotional trauma had made her want to leave the town, the street? Yes, that would have been nice. And I suppose if I'd been shot at a place, I don't think I'd ever want to come back there. I don't wish she died, but I wish she wasn't in the show. And it's a shame because I've always quite liked Kim Marsh, actually, because she was in Hearsay, I believe, and I used to watch a few of their music videos on the old MTV, and I could tell that's Kim there. And the thing is, in real life, I'm sure she's a very nice woman, but I just really don't like Michelle in the show. I really, really don't like Michelle. It's just this whole arrogance, and she's got such an ego to her. I just really don't enjoy. She's got like this sense of entitlement and the superiority over everybody, and she's just not a good character. Not a good character, and I just don't really enjoy her on the show. So anyway, as I said I will move on to Gemma being the new landlady of the Rovers, and I believe that Toyah and Leanne have now moved out of the Rovers, so it is now Gemma's pub. But Henry is up to something. What is he up to? Is Gemma going to be too happy? He was with a very posh woman at the end, and Chesney did overhear that, and Chesney's really jealous. Now the thing is, I want Gemma and Henry to be together, and I hope that Henry's not done anything too bad that can't happen. I don't want Gemma and Chesney together. I just don't think Chesney and Gemma would work together, because I really like them as mates, and I think they should stay mates, because that's what they are. They are just mates. They're friends. And I don't like the idea of what Coronation Street's trying to promote is, oh no, men and women can't be friends. They will have to just go out with each other because, oh, Chesney's a male and Gemma's a female, so let's have them go into a relationship with each other. And it's just like, oh, come on, why can't they just be friends with each other? Oh, sorry, you can't be straight and you can't both be straight and different sexes and be friends. Sorry, because obviously, you'll never see Sean and Liz. That's a very disturbing image, actually. But yeah, and the same age. But the thing is, why can't Chesney and Gemma just be mates? Why do they have to be together? Because I assure you that in a month or two, Gemma and Chesney will be together. And I don't really want that. I want Gemma to be with Henry. And I just really wish that Henry wasn't up to what I think he's up to, which I think is pretty bad. He's up to his old tricks again, which I think would be out of character as well, because he seemed very remorseful and regretful over what was happening, what his original intentions with Gemma. He was originally going out with Gemma for a bet, and then he developed feelings for Gemma and he felt really bad about it and he didn't want her to find out. And he was absolutely devastated when Gemma did find out, as Gemma was as well, because I don't think it's very fun going out with someone for a bet. So yeah, I really hope that Henry isn't up to anything, but I think that what he is up to is pretty bad. I'm sure we're going to get one of those paranoia storylines next week where, Gemma's going to be like, oh, Henry's so great, and then Chesney like, he's not actually that great. I saw him chatting to this person, and Gemma's like, oh, why can't you just leave me and Henry alone? And it turns out that Chesney was right all along, and then Gemma and Chesney end up together. It's a formula that they've been following for years and years and years, and it gets a bit predictable at times, and I just really hope that I'm wrong, because I would really like to have the odd surprise every now and then. Like Emmerdale keeps you on your toes. Emmerdale, they try and be a bit out of the box. They had their flashback episodes this week, their third flashback episode. We've never seen anything like that with Coronation Street. And to be honest, I don't really want Coronation Street to do anything like that, because it would just feel like they're copying. And I think it was such an innovative idea for Emmerdale to do that. If Coronation Street ever tried to do something like that, I feel like it would just be mimicry. And as well, it would feel out of place in Coronation Street. It would work more in Emmerdale than Coronation Street flashback episodes, which, to be honest, this wasn't something I was going to talk to you about, but it's definitely plaguing me on my mind. But Emmerdale just seems like a very different show to Coronation Street. It seems more like obviously Coronation Street is a drama, a soap drama. It wouldn't work on Coronation Street because we know the characters too well. We don't really have any characters that have this whole mystery or intrigue about them. It probably would have worked with Mary when Mary was about 14 and gave birth to Jude, but that's the only instance I could really think of where Coronation Street would be able to pull off a flashback. But it's just with Emmerdale, there's a lot more mystery behind a lot of their characters, where the flashback was the best way to explain it. And I suppose that the way that Emmerdale is filmed, because both shows are filmed very differently, which isn't really something that I can describe, but it is the way that both shows are very distinct and have their own tones. But I don't want this to be a comparison, because I'm here to review Coronation Street, so I will just talk about Coronation Street, especially because if you don't watch Emmerdale, you won't really be that interested in what I'm saying, I imagine. But yes, Coronation Street don't do flashbacks, but they do humour, and some of the humour was really good this week. Others felt a little bit, really, sort of a bit cringeworthy. So the humour that worked was Gemma in the pub. Very funny to see Gemma in control of the pub, because she is just a bit like a kid in a sweet shop, but an adult running a pub, finding all this liquor and booze and everything, and just, yeah, as I said, just being like a kid in a sweet shop. Just wanting to try everything, getting very ill on all the booze, because drinking a lot of booze does make you ill. It was funny to see Gemma control two rowdy people. And those two rowdy people were Mary and Gina having a row on stage, and Gemma was happy to join in with the whole fight, before Henry said to her, hang on, you're in charge now, you've got to be the one breaking up the fight. And then Gemma very confidently breaks up the fight, and then Gemma and Liz seem very kindred with the way that they're trying to organise everything, and Gemma immediately says, oh, come back to the Rovers, Liz. And obviously Liz is more than happy to work at the Rovers, and that raises a bit more suspicion with Henry, because Henry's a bit like, I don't think you should be hiring people before we own the place, which makes you think, what is he up to? And I just wish he wasn't up to anything. I wish that Gemma could just own the pub, no hassle, you know what I mean? So yeah, so I think it's going to be a tough week to watch with that. I don't think I'm going to be particularly enjoying that. What I did enjoy this week was the scene with Rita and Leanne, because I really like it when you see two characters that you wouldn't normally see interacting with each other interact, just like we had with Toya and Johnny. You wouldn't normally see them talking to each other, and they did, and they shared a heart-to-heart. And I do like how Coronation Street do that, where they just get two unrelated characters who have something in common, just speak to each other and develop themselves. And a lot of old fans would have remembered seeing a lot more of Leanne and Rita back when Leanne first started on the show, where Rita said, "I took a chance on you and I got you a job in the cabin." So we used to see a lot of Rita and Leanne together, and now it's just something that you just don't see. So it was very nice to have Rita and Leanne interacting with each other in a scene, and I do enjoy that. That's one thing I do enjoy, especially with a show where you've got such a huge cast, to have two characters that don't normally speak to each other. It reminds me of I said I wouldn't talk about Emmerdale, but I do want to mention that there are two characters in Emmerdale that are married. If you know Emmerdale, I'm talking about Rona and Kane, who are married in real life but very rarely interact with each other. I do remember a time when they did interact, which was obviously very funny, because in real life they know each other very well because they're married, but in the show they very vaguely talk to each other. I remember once Rona said they did a whole snog, marry, avoid thing, and they asked Rona who would you snog, and then Rona's like, "Oh, Kane Dingle." And then it's very funny because in real life she is married to Kane Dingle. But yeah, sorry, I don't want to go on tangents anymore, and I'm going to stop going on tangents. I'm going to stop speaking about Emmerdale. I'm going to try and stop speaking about Emmerdale, because this is a Coronation Street review. Tracy and Steve, Tracy and Steve is still happening. Yeah, that was weird. It was really just a bit of a joke with the whole Tracy wanted to go on a rave, Steve wanted to go to the football. They both had things they wanted to do. Amy wanted to go to a party because her thing was cancelled. They were all trying to make each other feel guilty, but in the end, Amy got to go to her thing, Tracy got to go to her thing, and Steve and Tim they went to the football, and I think Steve and Tim are forming a firm that might rival the GSC, the Headhunters and the Bushwhackers, all of those famous firms. Looks like Steve and Tim are, there might be a whole football hooliganism storyline to look forward to. So brace yourselves for that. So I was talking about humour. So a lot of the humour where it did miss was with the whole moths. They had the moth guy who appeared on Monday and Wednesday. We saw his YouTube video. Wait, actually, no, to be fair, it was quite funny the way he was going on tangents. I can't think of many YouTubers that go on many tangents. So he was always getting distracted from saying how you kill moth eggs. Oh, sorry, wife, I'm just making a video on the YouTube. Daniel, just get on with it. And I think the way I watch YouTube videos a lot of the time, because a lot of them do just ramble on. Obviously, I don't. I go straight to the point, so don't do this with my videos. But with a lot of these videos, a lot of the time, especially if you're watching it on your iPhone, you can just touch the right of the screen and it will just skip forward about 10 seconds. And then you can just keep doing that. If it looks like a boring 10 seconds, you just skip it. But yeah, as I said, if you are listening to this review on a iOS device, you are forbidden from doing that. You are forbidden from pressing that fast forward button. You have to listen to the whole review, I'm afraid. So yeah, there were the moths, and Daniel and Sinead are expecting a baby. And as you can remember, before Daniel and Sinead were expecting a baby, before Sinead aborted it, she told Daniel she had a miscarriage, although I thought she said she had a muscarriage, which I imagine was just another way of saying abortion. So I think there was no need for them to fall out over that. It's funny as well, that's another thing about forgiving people. It's funny how Sinead's forgiven Daniel for trying to kill his dad with a book. But yeah, that just happens. But because of the baby thing, before they found out about the baby, Daniel was happy to quit for Sinead, and then afterwards they had to eat humble pie and try and get Sinead her job back because Alia's such a pushover. Alia just rolled over. And yes, it looks like Alia will own the factory, which I was a little bit thingy about before because I really wanted Carla to keep it. I wanted the factory to stay in the family, but it looks like they're going to honour Aidan's will, and it looks like Alia will keep the factory, which Carla's not too happy about. And I really wanted Carla to get the factory back. Carla was actually very much involved in the Moss storyline as well. She was telling Daniel and Sinead not to worry about the moths. And they're like, oh, that's such a relief. Well, Carla laughs maniacally. But because of the fact that Daniel and Sinead are expecting a baby, they can't set up their own shop. So they've decided to allow Brian and Kathy to have the shop since they had a little bidding war, which Daniel and Sinead won because they were happy to pay the actual price instead of trying to scam the owner. But it looks like Brian doesn't want to own the shop because he just wants to babysit for Joseph and Hope and Ruby, which was all very funny because it all started a couple of weeks ago where Hope said to Ruby, oh, we got to be nice to him, we've got to be on our best behaviour because he's Father Christmas, which, was very, very cute, and Joseph believes it as well, as does Hope, so, it's very, very nice, and I'll tell you, this is something as well, if you notice that we didn't see Hope this week, but Joseph and Hope do look very similar, and there's a reason for that, is because in real life they are actual brother and sister, and they're also related to the young actress who plays April in Emmerdale. Oh, damn, I said I wouldn't mention Emmerdale anymore. Sorry about that. But yeah, all three of them, Joseph, Hope and April, are all related in real life. But yeah, sorry, I said I wouldn't mention Emmerdale, and I won't. I will try my absolute hardest not to, but I am sorry. So yeah, Brian's enjoying babysitting because he is Father Christmas. And Joseph's like, I want you to babysit me all the time. Well, except for Christmas, because you'd be busy. And Brian's like, oh, very understanding. So I think we're going to have to wait for Christmas before that storyline develops into something else further. But it's only about 20 weeks till Christmas, so you don't have to wait that long. But yeah, it feels like it's going to be a lot longer with how hot the weather's been. Although the characters in Coronation Street don't seem to notice how hot it actually is. A lot of them are still wearing their trousers, and I'm thinking, how can all the characters be wearing trousers? And I know it's Manchester, I know that, but I'm only in Yorkshire, and that's about the same temperature, and it's still really warm up there. So I don't get why none of the characters are wearing their shorts while they've all got their trousers on and coats on. A lot of the characters are wearing coats. You can't wear coats when it's nearly 30 degrees. You can't. It's stupid. It's ludicrous. If I was on there, I'd be wearing my flip-flops. Although it'd be probably very uncomfortable to walk in flip-flops on cobbles. But there you go. So I think that's pretty much everything except for we've got Sean, who's homeless. Sean is without home. It's sad to see how desperate Sean is, and it's sad to see how it can affect people, how homelessness can just affect people, like normal people, because you see homeless people and they're addressing it. I was a bit sort of Deus Ex how the characters were just casually mentioning homelessness when Sean was there. But yeah, Sean was embarrassed to be homeless, which I can understand, because if I ever found myself homeless, God forbid, I think I'd be a bit embarrassed to say that, because there is such a stigma on homeless people are drug addicts and users and criminals and everything, and it's nice to see that a representation of a person who's not any of those things. He is just somebody that's fallen on hard times, and it's nice to see what what life is like for, well, not nice, but it's very useful and intriguing to see what life is like for someone in Sean's situation where they just don't have a home to go to. And yes, Sean's befriended. Well, he has defriended some people as well who stole his wages, but he has befriended a lot of homeless people. He's been brought into this new community by his new friend Carol, who wants to bring him in to their sort of elite. I say elite. You got to be. We don't just let anyone stay with us. So it is nice that that he's not doing it on his own. That there are people there to help him. Normal people, not your drug addicts or but just normal people that are homeless. And Emmerdale did do homelessness about a year ago with Daz, how he'd left the army and he became homeless. Except they didn't really show his situation worsening. Like, we saw every single step with Sean, whereas with Daz, it's the case where Kerry just finds him homeless on the streets. Oh, that's Daz? What's Daz doing on the streets, man? I need to get him off the streets. So we only really see the resolution. As with Sean, we see all the steps, and we're waiting for the resolution. If it is going to be resolved, maybe Sean will just be homeless permanently. Maybe Sean will get used to being homeless and enjoy the community aspect of it. It was interesting how Eileen and Seb could have given Sean somewhere or something like that was going on. I wasn't really following what exactly was happening with them. The fact that they could have given Sean somewhere. No, he'll be going into his luxury shower as we speak now. Cut to Sean in the shandy town in the back of the park. I think at least if you're going to be homeless in the summer when it's actually warm outside. But it doesn't seem like the characters seem to notice how warm it is, as I've already said. But I think, Sean, if you're going to be homeless, be homeless while it's 30 degrees outside instead of winter time. Especially, imagine being homeless in February. We had a blizzard in February. Can you imagine being homeless then? I imagine how many. You see, this is what Coronation Street does as well, is it really makes you think about the characters' situations and the predicaments, and you try and imagine if that was you. Like, for instance, with Emmerdale, I've been imagining, what would I do if I was in Rebecca's situation? Rebecca is currently being chained up in a cabin. What would I do if I was in that situation? How would I escape? How would I process what was going on around me? So it is interesting to sometimes think, what would I do if I was in this character's shoes? And that's exactly what I've been doing with Sean. What would I do if I was in his shoes? It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Sean. It's taken a while for the whole homeless storyline to take flight. Eventually it's all been set up, and it's going to be very interesting to see where it goes, what happens. Is he going to stay homeless? Is he going to be homeless at Christmas time? We'll have to wait and see. And then he had the whole thing with Dev. Dev could have helped him with this predicament if he was able to give a deposit, and Dev's mate wasn't able to. And that's another thing. I really like Dev. Dev's a really good character. But I think if Sean had made his situation clearer, maybe Dev could have extra persuaded his friend, but we don't know. Maybe Dev would have paid the deposit himself and then had Sean and allowed Sean to pay him the money back, which, yeah, you think if he'd made his situation clearer, maybe people would be more willing to help him. But he can't, because, he's got his pride and he's embarrassed to say that he's not got a home. It's like, we had that moment where the police asked him what his address was, and we could see, it was really well directed actually, that moment where you can actually see him reacting to the question and thinking, I have to be honest. I can't lie to the police. I'll have to tell them that I'm homeless. I have to confess. And he had to, while he was saying it, accept the fact that he's homeless. He had to confess almost, I'm homeless. He had to say those words. And I think that was obviously very difficult for Sean to do, to actually accept his situation. So yeah, anyway, I believe that I've covered all the bases for this week's Coronation Street. So I hope you enjoyed listening to my ramblings. And yes, this wasn't a scheduled review, as I said. I wasn't able to watch Coronation Street last week. I only managed to watch all 6 episodes today because, as I said, I live a very interesting and exciting life. But yes, I was able to do them. As soon as I watched all 6 of them, I thought, what I'm going to do is I will make a little review for all of you guys, because I know how much you all said, oh, please, we need a Coronation Street review. So, yes, I did a Coronation Street review just for you guys. So please, return the favour, like the video. All you have to do is press a button. I've had to ramble on at you for 36 minutes and counting. Make a clickbaity thing for the video and upload it, edit it. Yeah, it takes a while, so the least you could do, just thumbs up, comment, I enjoyed the video, you should have talked about this because you forgot all about ... I hope in your next review you say this, or just, this is great, you're amazing, stuff like that. I don't mind it if you say that. I don't mind if you tell me I'm great. It doesn't bother me. And subscribe so you don't miss any other reviews. And there's a little bell button as well you can press. And if you press that, you will get notified whenever I upload a video. So you can listen to all my reviews, never miss a review. You will know as soon as a review's up, he's like, yes, Corriedale guy has uploaded a video. I've watched all the Coronation Streets of this week, so now I can listen to the Corriedale review. And you can get a little routine going with the Corriedale reviews. So yeah, thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. And you don't have to do all 3, you can do as little or as much as you like. But yeah, thanks guys, and I really appreciate the feedback, and keep it coming. Cheers.